Welcome back for another week of college football with the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl report. We're in the studios of 1010 XL, which is where I will be doing a radio show with all these wonderful folks. Hayes is sitting over here getting ready to go, and of course Frank and Lauren, they're both going to be back in just a few minutes. A lot happened last week. Very interesting happened. What Georgia experienced and seeing where if you don't play good, you get beat. And Georgia did not play good, and they got beat. The real problem with that is losing a game to a non-ranked conference opponent at your own home. That's going to hurt Georgia now unless they can win the East and beat Alabama or LSU or Auburn or whoever comes from the West for them to have any chance to get into the college football playoff Final Four. They will have to more than likely win out and at least win the East and win the SEC championship game. They still control their own destiny. For you Georgia fans, don't go crazy. The flip side of that is then we talk a little bit about Florida. Florida showed that they can score. They showed that they can play really good offense. They're up against one of the top 5 teams in the country and couldn't stop them. And now you go through October where they're all getting beat up, and there's a couple of injuries on the Florida O-line. D-line, but the reality is I think Florida gets well. I think they beat South Carolina. I think they get a bye week, and then they play Georgia. And now, for the first time, I think a lot of people in this town and in Athens and Gainesville believe that there's a chance for Florida to win that game. I think that's what happened this past weekend to show that. The Big Ten is starting to shape up. There's a whole bunch of really good teams. You got Penn State, you got Ohio State, you got Wisconsin. There's a chance now that the SEC only gets 2 in the CFP, and that somehow the Big Ten get 3 in there. What that means for our selection process in the SEC means there'll be that many more teams, at least one more team that will be there. So is it Auburn, Florida, just who's going to be in that slot when it's our turn to look at the pool and decide who goes where. I feel real good now about the SEC. The Big Ten, you take those 3 teams out and you start talking about, okay, well, where are we going to be picking? Well, you're going to have Michigan, you're going to have Michigan State, you're going to have Nebraska, you're going to have Iowa. So there's a number of good teams there that we're excited about. The Seminoles took it on the chin from one of the top 5 teams in the country. That's at their place. Clemson is second to none at their home stadium, Death Valley. I hope the Seminoles play a little bit better. They've got a chance now to really win some games in conference over the next 4 or 5 weeks with that date looming with the Gators at the end of the year. The things are looking up for the TaxSlayer Gator Bowl selection process, and I just want to thank 1010 XL for all that they do for us, and I'll see you next week.